Okay, if everybody can get Photoshop open, that'd be swell. Today I'm going to talk to you about the power. Open up Photoshop CS5. It's in your applications folder. Today I'm going to talk to you about the power of the brush and how you can customize it and get a lot of really cool effects with it. I think this is good to show you in lieu of designing the art show poster. I think it might be a good thing to show you this technique, so it might give you some good ideas. So in Photoshop, if you do File, New, and we can base it off of the US paper preset. And let's just do a 5x5 document just to get started. Okay. Now select your brush in the tool palette. And if you right click, you can select any one of these beginning default brushes. Let's start with the hard edge, hard round, and it's got no taper, so it's got no pressure sensitivity to it. Now there's another panel we need to have open, and that's off to the right here. Everybody can see that. It's brush window. And if you don't see it there, you can also go up top in Photoshop to window and then pull up brush right there. A couple ways to do it. Once you have that up, you can actually pull that window out because we're going to be using that a lot. Okay. Now we're going to pretty much talk about what this panel can do and all these little options in here. Some are important, some not so important, but we'll just jump right in. Okay. So if I were to take the brush now and just, create a squiggly line and see what that does, not really dynamic. Okay, it's just, basic brush. So if we look into our brush panel here, we can change some things. For instance, we can change the size right here in this panel. We can also change spacing. Now try that one out. Increase the spacing. So now it seems like we have a dotted line. So something a little bit more interesting. And it works like that with all the brushes. So that's spacing, and you can adjust it right in that panel.
Has this always been there?
Always been there. Yeah.
So I'm taking class.
Exactly, right? So you can adjust spacing right there. Let's go to the next one down. Right below brush tip shape, we have shape dynamics. And here is the same exact thing for the pin pressure. So immediately when we activate shape dynamics, we're getting that pressure that's also activated. You can adjust size jitter, which kind of gives it a randomize on the pressure. It's good if you want to add some texture to some line. I'm going to turn that back down. But if you see under control, that drop down, we see that it is on pin pressure. We can turn it off, but it's just what we're using right now. And let's see, anything else in there we'll talk about later with another brush. Let's go on to the next one, scattering. And if we click on scattering, we can adjust that one. And you notice what it does is each one of those little sprites, that circle, it just kind of blows it out. So it's great for making a scatter brush. You can increase the count. You can even control it based on pin pressure. So the more pin pressure I add to it, the more it scatters. Okay. If I turn scattering off and let's say go to texture, this is where it starts to pull in some of the default texture pattern presets. I don't use this one all that much, but you can see how you can pick a texture and how that same texture can be applied to a brush. The dual brush adds in two brushes. So if you want to combine the texture of one brush and the solid of another, that is done through the dual brush. Color dynamics, the next one, that's a really cool one. To get this one to work, we're going to have to change our background and foreground color a little bit. So go ahead and do that right now. If I click on the foreground color, and let's say I change that. Okay, and I change the background color as well. Now, under color dynamics, having that chosen, you can adjust the foreground background jitter. Right now it doesn't do anything because my control needs to be on pressure. So if I have it on pin pressure, I can go from one color to another based on the pressure. So it can go so it jumps from my foreground color to my background color based on how much I push on it. And if I add jitter to it, it just kind of bounces back between both colors.
What did you do to get the, I can't get mine to change color.
You got to change the control on pin pressure, but you also have to have two colors, like you have to have foreground and background, because that's the colors it's switching between. You may not see it if you got to go real light on the pen to see the first color.
Oh, I pretty much it.
You can also adjust the saturation or the brightness, and it just gives you a little bit different reaction there. Reminds me of the sandworm in Beetlejuice. Anybody? No? Okay. All right. Let's move on. All right, let me look at these other ones. Transfer, noise. Yeah, those are all very specialized options there. Let me show you something cool trick here. If you go back to brush tip shape, and also if you want to blank this out, you can either create a new layer, hide the one below it, or just blank it out with white. I'll go back to my brush tip shape and I choose, let's see, I think everybody has this one. I'm going to zoom into it so you can see it. It's something like that. It looks like a chalkboard smudge, but it's at an angle. And if you select that one and maybe increase the spacing on it, I still have shape dynamic on. Does anybody remember if I didn't want to use those settings for shape dynamic, does anybody remember where the shortcut was to do pressure sensitivity on a brush, like automatically just click it? Is anybody awake? What? Chirp, 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 chirp. The buttons at the top, how I can select those, just turn them on and off. That's my my size variation and the opacity variation. I can just check those on and off, and I can get the same effect. See, if I turned it off, see, it's all the same size. And I can do opacity. See, so the harder I press, the more, opaque it is. But I can turn them both on and have them both work for me. Like that. Just those two buttons at the top. That's really the shortcut to access that. Okay. All right, so if we have this brush selected right now, this was the cool part I was getting to. If we go to Shape Dynamics, select that, and I'm going to turn pin pressure or size off, so I want it to be all one size. Under angle jitter, the control, I'm going to do direction. Okay? So I got size off, and then under angle, the control is direction. And watch what that does. So what is it doing? It's following the direction that I'm starting in, and it rotates in that direction that I'm going. Super cool. Now, if I don't like that initial direction that it's starting on, I can go back to brush tip shape, and there is this circle here with the 2 points. If I grab that little arrow, I can rotate it. See? and I can actually see how that preview is changing. So let's say I want the initial direction to be like that, and maybe I'm going to adjust my spacing here. So I can do something like that. Okay. And it works really with all the brushes. So if I have that same brush, if I change my brush type, here's that leaf brush. The Canada leaf. Eh? Cool tricks, cool tricks. And this is all just using the directional, as far as for the angle. I'm using just a direction. If I turn, let's see, if I turn the size to pin pressure, it'll just kind of, it'll just get more dynamic as I go. Go back to brush tip shape, I can change that. All right. Okay. Okay. Are y'all ready to make y'all's own brush? Are y'all ready? Ready for that step? Don't be scared. Don't be scared. Yeah, let's do this. All right. I'm going to come to my shape tool. And under your shape tool, you have a custom shape drop down. So go ahead and hit that. Custom shape. And if you look at the very top, you have that shape drop down. That's the shape I'm on right now. If you click that, you should have something that looks like this. And if you don't, I believe you can hit the little gear icon and you can kind of load in all.
You back up.
Sure. Where? Okay.
Where did you, oh,
Custom shape.
you're not in your brush.
Yeah, the shape is under here. What we're doing is we're going to grab a shape that we're going to turn into a brush. So that's what we're doing right now. And for this one, we're going to use the triangle. Okay?
How'd you get all that?
There's a little gear off to the side, and you can bring all of them in, or you can just bring your shapes in, because really that's what I'm going to be using is the shapes. So if I really that's one to save, yeah. And So using the triangle here, I'm just going to draw a small triangle. I'm holding down shift, so keep it pretty even. Something like that. Doesn't have to be huge. I drew mine as pixels. Should have did it as a shape, but it doesn't matter. When you drew the shape, did it do it as a shape layer? Mostly everybody's like that? Okay. I'll do it like that. Yes. Okay, so it has it as a shape layer. Draw my triangle. I don't want a stroke on it. I want to fill it. There we go. Okay. So have it as such. If I hold down Command and click this icon, it's going to give me the exact selection of that shape. Okay? That's basically what I want to do. I want to use that shape as something to select. So I have my selection tool, my marquee, my marching ants, selecting it. If I go to Edit in the menu, I'm going to say Define Brush Preset. So everybody got that? Make the selection of the shape, Edit, Define Brush Preset. That's my next panel. Now you see, I know it worked because it's showing me the thumbnail of what I had selected. And I'm going to name it Square Brush. No, Triangle Brush. All right. So now I don't really need this anymore. I'm going to trash it. Thank you, Mr. Triangle, for your service. So now I'm going to go back to the brush tool. Now, once I define brush preset, titled it, hit OK, it's going to automatically show up as a brush in my brush panel. The trick is, I just got to find where it's at. I found it. Mine is in there. Okay? You just got to look for it. You go back to your brush panel, you scroll down, you look for where that triangle is. That's the brush we just created. Now I can change it to, if I want to change the color, do another color. And if I try that out, yep, it works. Okay? So let's do some creative things with it. Obviously, we can increase the spacing. So we can do a lot more cooler things with this triangle here. If I go to Shape Dynamics, let's see, the size jitter, maybe I can turn that off. Angle jitter, still have it going in a direction. If I want color dynamics, I can do that. This is the perfect brush to do skull candy art. Turn color dynamics off. Okay. Everybody got the hang of that? Using a triangle.
Is there anything wrong with my transfer button? Like, do you think you can change how you use transfer or whatever on that brush? Yeah.
Transfer brush.
Anytime I start drawing the transfer blocks, it's checking something if I'm checking.
Okay, we're going to do another shape. Again, we're going to get used to creating these brushes. This time, you don't have to use a custom shape tool. Use the rectangle. So select rectangle under the shape tool. Thunder, you understand that? Good. All right. Now this time, draw somewhat of a skinny rectangle, something like that, without that on it. So I'm looking for something like that. Rectangle. Again, I'm going to hold down Command, and I'm going to click the thumbnail in my Layers panel so I get that same selection. Anybody tell me what the next step is?
Go to
Edit.
Define brush preset.
Right. Edit. Define brush preset. And I will call this brush Circle. No. You're so silly.
Define brush preset isn't highlighted.
You got to have a selection. Is your computer on? In Photoshop. Okay.
When I want to start a new layer and I want it to have white and not transparent, do I do that? I set that up as preference?
No, you just create a new layer and you just have to fill it with white. Yeah, do it the manual way. Okay, so did everybody define a brush preset with a rectangle? Good, let's move on. All right, so I don't need this anymore, so I'm gonna trash it, create a new layer, go to my brush tool, and then under brush tip shape, there's my rectangle. Again, I'm gonna do the same things. I'm gonna increase the spacing. Okay. I like this brush. It is a nice brush. It is a nice brush. It makes me happy. I can make the cool drawings. Now, let's say I was doing this, and obviously, if I did that, I'd get that. It's a flower, right? So I can change. I can really change in this situation. I can change the rotation, the direction, so I can use this in a different manner, like that. Okay. Again, I can re-rotate it to get it back where I need. Okay. I made art.
That looks like a book. No, I know what it is. It looks like an album cover I saw a couple months ago.
A what?
Album cover?
Album cover?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, maybe they did it the same way. Who knows? Now, you can do something like this. Using this rectangle, use a combination of both of them to make something. So if I jump back to the triangle, again, let's see. You could pick back on that triangle shape and use the combination of the two. Okay. I'm going to walk around, see how everybody's doing, see how well you're playing on the computer. All right, it's looking good. Everybody's getting the hang of it. Except for Miss East, who had a little miscommunication. All right. I'm going to show you exactly with those two brushes what I was able to accomplish. And that's this guy right here.
That's the picture I was thinking.
This was an image that showed up in Thrive's calendar, and this is exactly how I colored this piece, was using those two brushes, using a skinny rectangle and even a square and a triangle. And that's how I colored. I just used size variation. Mainly, I think that was it. I just had size variation on, and I just picked different colors to, do the shading and the tints. But how I start this process is black line. I'll use a very small brush that's black, and I'll just roughly sketch out the animal or the outside shape. Here's an example of how I kind of start the process, but this may inspire you to do some very similar pieces. So I very much start it like this, and then I create a layer underneath and I start coloring it. This is one that I'm playing with as far as the layout. I'm just trying to get a good idea of the composition. And this was one that I'm showing that's kind of like in the middle process of how I use like a resource right in the document, and I'm kind of using that as like the color pattern. And that's really it. But that brush allows for just a lot of fun stuff to be created. And so let me get rid of my my third grader painting here, and I can show you some of those techniques. Let's say if I were to do a branch with like a flower coming off the branch. I'm going to pick my skinny rectangle here, adjust the spacing, and for this one I'm going to want size variation. So it's just something like that. And I might come in again to kind of give it a little bit of weight. Maybe bring it down a little bit. Yeah, that's what I want. So that was a branch coming out. And let's say we've got another one kind of coming out, sprouting up here. It's just fun, just fun, happy little branches. They're happy. They're nice. Okay? All right. So if I'm done with that, and I can actually pick maybe a different shade of that same color, and maybe I'm doing like a highlight, so maybe it's just another little color kind of overlaying on top. Okay? And then I go and I pick let's do like an orangish red. Okay. And for this I'm going to go a little bit bigger, and I may want to play with like, might be undoing it, but yeah, that's good. Let me go bigger. So I'm just kind of playing with the shapes here. Okay, and from there, I'm going to kind of pick a lighter color. Okay. Now, I mean, I can really just stop there. I mean, it's good. That's good for me. If you want to play with other stuff, you can go into the triangle, maybe to add like another different type of shape. So if I come in here, maybe select that, go with a different color here. Maybe I can go on the outside of it. Create something like that. Adjust the size here. You'll notice with the triangle, if you start to go in a right direction, the triangle will be flipped one way. If you go left, it'll flip the other way. Kind of creating a little background here. Okay. What does everybody think about that? Any questions? Did you learn something today? Good. What I love about this technique is how we can take something simple, like a very simple shape. We don't have to use that leaf brush. We don't have to use the fancy brushes. We can just use something very, very simple. Circle, a rectangle, a triangle. And by using that spacing and the directional and the pressure sensitivity of the size, we can create something that's very appealing to the eye, and we can do it fairly quickly. Cool?